It's May 2003. The Staples Center in Los Angeles is buzzing. On a massive screen, Gabe Newell is showing the world the future. This was Half-Life 2. It didn't just look better than other games, it looked impossible. Characters had eyes that tracked the player. Wooden crates splintered into individual planks. A gravity gun manipulated the world with physics that seemed years ahead of its time. Gabe Newell wasn't just showing a demo, he was making a promise. A release date, September 30th, 2003.
When Half-Life 2 ships this summer, we'll also have all of our original Half-Life games available on Sword.
Fans began pre-ordering hardware and counting down the days. But behind the polished curtains of E3, Valve was in a state of quiet desperation. The engine was buggy, the levels were disconnected, and the September deadline was a fantasy. They were running out of time. Little did they know, the biggest threat to their survival wasn't a missed deadline. It was a 21-year-old in a small town in Germany, sitting in front of a modem, looking for a way in.
Right now, the most important thing that we're doing is watching people play. I hate release dates because no matter how hard we try, we screw them up. So we held back.
Meet Axel Gembe, a 21-year-old German fan with a passion for coding and a massive obsession with Half-Life. He didn't want to destroy Valve, he just wanted to see what they were working on. Axel didn't just break in, he found a tunnel. He was scanning for web servers and found a company called Tangis run by Gabe Newell's brother. Because the two companies collaborated, their networks were linked, but the firewall between them was non-existent. Axel found a user account named Build, with a completely blank password. Once he was in, he was the ultimate fly on the wall. For 6 months, he read every internal email. He watched the developers struggle with the Hydra enemy. He even had a keylogger on Gabe's personal workstation. Think about that. Every time Gabe Newell typed a password or a memo, a kid in Germany was reading it in real time. On September 19th, Axel hit the jackpot. He downloaded the entire source tree for Half-Life 2. He shared it with one friend, who shared it with another, and the secret began to bleed out. On October 2nd, 2003, a user named Anonymous posted the code to the website halflife2.net. Gabe Newell woke up to his worst nightmare. The game's DNA, the source engine, was all over the internet.
The community was in shock, but as fans compiled the leaked code, they found the dark truth. The game wasn't even close to being finished. The mind-blowing E3 demo, it was revealed to be a smoke and mirrors show. It was a heavily scripted sequence that would have crashed if a player looked the wrong way. The physics were broken, and most levels were empty shells. Morale at Valve plummeted. Gabe Newell took to the forums, personally asking fans for help to find the hacker. This wasn't just a delay, it was a $250 million disaster. Valve, then an independent studio, was staring down the barrel of bankruptcy. But the leak revealed something else. A version of Half-Life 2 we were never supposed to see. It was a much darker, Orwellian game. There was the air exchange, a massive factory replacing Earth's oxygen with toxic gas. The cremators, alien synths that cleaned the streets with flamethrowers. And the Kraken base, an underwater rebel lab that was completely cut from the final game. This beta has its own legacy today. An entire subculture of modders has spent 2 decades trying to reconstruct the game Axel stole, a lost version of a masterpiece. Here's where it gets weird. Guilt-ridden and naive, Axel Gembe emailed Gabe Newell directly in February 2004. He apologized and, in a move that could only be called bold, asked for a job as an in-house security auditor. Valve saw an opportunity. Gabe Newell and COO Scott Lynch played the long con. They didn't yell, they acted impressed. They interviewed Axel over the phone for 40 minutes, asking about his coding philosophy and even his shirt size for his uniform. It was a classic FBI sting operation. They sent him a plane ticket and an official offer. The plan was for the FBI to arrest him the moment he stepped off the plane in Seattle. But the German police got to him first. The Landeskriminalamt was already investigating Axel for his involvement with the Agobot malware. They raided his home just days before his flight. Axel was arrested in his bed at 6 a.m. Facing a potential life-ruining sentence in the US, his case was handled in Germany. He was eventually sentenced to 2 years probation. He had avoided a US federal prison by the narrowest of margins. The leak pushed the game back by over a year, eventually releasing in November 2004. It was still a masterpiece, but that extra year changed everything. It gave Valve the time to refine Steam. Without the leak, Steam might have launched as a buggy mess and failed. Instead, the disaster forced Valve to pivot, turning a tragedy into a digital monopoly that now dominates the industry. In the end, Axel Gembe didn't kill Valve. He accidentally gave them the time they needed to build an empire. Today, we don't just play Valve's games, we live in the ecosystem they built during that stolen year of development. The leak was a nightmare in 2003, but for the millions of us who log into Steam every day, it might have been the best thing that ever happened to gaming. But what do you think? Would you have preferred the darker, Orwellian version of Half-Life 2 found in the leak? Or are you happy with the City 17 we got? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into gaming's most infamous heist, make sure to drop a subscribe and hit that like button. It really helps the channel out and keeps the lights on here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.